Hi, my name is Janet Minosky-Smith. I'm just creating a quick video here to show everyone how you can make your own workbooks in Whizzimo. If you're a Barton tutor, you already have all the lessons built in Whizzimo, and you may never ever want to make a workbook, but you don't need to, but it's a great way if you have particular things you want to practice with students to make something quickly, and then you are actually taking advantage of some of the built-in Whizzimo activities such as flashcards and word cards and timed reading and other things that I'm about to show you that will allow you to give your student more practice with particular concepts. So, for example, if my student needed more practice with units, I could create a quick workbook and then use that and use all those activities to review that with him and create some variety versus just simply reviewing the same material in my lesson again. Or if I wanted to practice B and D and reversals and reading and spelling with that, which is often needed with students, that's another workbook I could make, or anything else that you would have that you want to provide more practice and review. And if you're a regular OG tutor who uses a different system, the same thing would apply. You can create workbooks for different practice and prescriptive activities, or even just for your main lessons in your scope and sequence. That's probably the way I would use workbooks most of the time. If I'm doing regular OG, I would create a workbook that uses the words that teach and review a particular concept, and then I would have all those words built on my tile board as well as the activities to do along with it, and I could use that along with the material in my lesson to teach the concept that I'm putting in there. The last thing I want to review when I show you how you can use the workbooks or make your own is how you can upload PDF files to them as well, because a lot of people don't know about that. So let's go ahead and get started. I've opened my Whizzimo account, and I have everyone has their name up here when you open your account. Everyone has one built-in course which is under your name. When you click on that name, any other courses you've created show up over here. So I have some of the Barton books because I use Barton primarily. And I've created a few other courses. That's my original name, which is cluttered with tons of workbooks, so that's why I created this second name. So my library or my course workbooks up here isn't totally crowded, because most people won't have anything up here or very little up here when you first get your account. All right, so you have two ways you can add a workbook in order to do practice activities. One is if I have this Add a Workbook tab open, and this has all the pre-made workbooks that Whizzimo contains, and so very likely you could find a pre-made workbook that covers the information you would like to practice with your student. So I'm going to pick one of them. Let's say we've finished all our initial lessons introducing the alphabet and the vowel sounds and the CVC words. So I want to do some practice with that. So I'm picking this pre-made workbook, CVC words from A to Z, including QU, and that's perfect. It's exactly what I want to review. When I click on that, this menu comes out on the side. I want to add it to my library. And then when I go up, it's in my library. And I can go ahead and start using it. So if I click on it again, the menu opens and just gives me all the possible activities available to me in this workbook. The black board is going to be your tile board that has every tile you've put in it when you've created your tile board. So keep that in mind. If you're in Barton, even if you're creating a workbook for level 2, this blackboard's going to have all the tiles in it for the levels you've ordered. So that will be a little busier. The workbook tiles are going to be the tiles. It's a tile board that will only have the tiles in it of the words that are in this particular workbook. So that is likely more, if you want to use any tile-based activities or practice, that's more likely what you would go to, especially in the early levels. You may not have every letter in the alphabet showing because the words that you've put in don't include a few letters. And that's okay. You still have the letters that you need. But if you put enough words in, you probably will have the letters, basic letters of the alphabet. But just to be aware that that's how that's built. All right, the word cards are the words that are put in the workbook on cards. Timed reading, flashcards, letter cards, and spelling. So these are all activities you can do. So I'm opening the workbook tiles. This is the pre-made workbook that I got right from Whizzimo, and they've put a lot of CVC words in with all the different vowels. Now notice it says 1 of 15 here. That's because their default is to have 15 active words. If you go up to this little book here and click on it, you can increase or decrease how many words you want to review. So you can see there's probably over 50 words in this workbook. They have quite a few. So I can add or take away words. So let's say make it 20. I can shuffle them if I want to do that. I can also rearrange them. So I want to make sure I cover a few different vowels. I'm going to make sure I move a variety near the beginning, so we're making sure I'm not covering a bunch of short I's before I get to anything else. So you can rearrange the words in this view and do that. And then when you close it, that's what you'll have. However you've rearranged it. Now I have 20 words. And all the words that have been built into the workbook are also built into tiles for a blending review, reading review. So you can use this workbook tiles activity to do that. You can also access tiles to build words or to change the vowel. For example, what would it say if we change the vowel to A, or anything you want to do that you can do in the tile view. You can use this for spelling. Once you've gone through and reviewed all the words reading wise, you can hide the words and then dictate, and the student can go through your spelling procedures and build and spell words. So that's one thing you can do when you have a workbook, which is already available in the regular, but this could be specific to, again, concepts you want to review, like hard C versus soft C or anything else. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you, jump down to flashcards. And this is also a great way to review and do reading and fluency, practice and spelling. And you have the whole word view. And if you go up here, there's an onset rhyme view. There's also a tile view that shows them based on the colors of your tiles in your workbook. And again, you can do a blending drill, or then you can go and do the whole word view after you've done the tile view for more practice. And what I like about this too is you go one direction and then practice again going the other direction. And again, you have the same access to shuffle the cards, add more, or change the order of them by going up there. And so there's a lot of options with the flashcard activity, and this is very good for fluency building as well. All right, so another activity would be your word cards. And this is great. There's a lot of things you can do with that. Since we have 5 vowels, I might want my student to sort words according to vowels. and we can do practice with that, and they just drag when you're sharing control with them and bring words down. You could put a tic-tac-toe board on here, so it's nothing fancy, but every time a student successfully reads and sorts a card, they could get to put an X, and then you can put your O and you can play tic-tac-toe. So little things like that, you can draw them right on the board and use them, or you could maybe use the cards as tic-tac-toe. Wherever, there's probably a lot of things you could think of as you start working with them. So a lot of activities, depending on the types of words you've put in, suggest themselves with the word cards. Okay, and then letter cards is a good way to do a visual drill, and this is going to include the letters, all the letters that are in the words that are in this particular workbook. So you can do that as well, and you do have the option to sort these, to move them in different places if you want to do that, or to put the ones that need more review up near the beginning after you've gone through it once. So that's the letter card activity. And spelling is something you can do too. Now the disadvantage of this is this will bring up that entire tile board. So if you have a lot of tiles on your tile board, you can resize it so that you're seeing less of those, but you may not want to use this if you're concerned if it's in the early stages and you don't have your tile board set up easily in terms of not showing things that they haven't been taught yet, as in my case. So I probably tend to avoid that and do spelling through dictating and using other activities. And the timed reading is another thing you can do. When you hit begin assessment, the words are going to show up on cards and you can change the number, but I usually do this with 15 words. And once you hit begin, the student reads them. And when they're finished, you hit finish. And then you can score them. Now you have the option, you can say, well, this one you read wrong, and you can mark it wrong, or you can just point it out to them. That's up to you. And then when you hit done, it gives them their rate. How many words per minute did they read? So I'll do that 3 or 4 times, 2 days in a row, or I've done that as like an assessment activity as well. And so it's a good option. And my students have enjoyed doing it because when maybe I have them read that same list 4 times in a row, they see how it improves. And then the second day we come back and they see it improves even more. And it's such a simple and quick thing to do. But it's a nice way to do, again, more fluency practice. And I'm just suggesting one way I did it. I'm sure you may have your own ideas on that. All right, so those are all different things you can do with a workbook. And I had shown you a ready-made workbook, but let me show you how to make your own workbook based on something you might want to practice. Now there is the workbook here. Let's say I just had specific words I want to create my own. So I was in Add a Workbook, and these are all the workbooks that come with Whizzimo. But in my workbook library, I want to create a workbook, so I'm going to select Create Workbook. And I know the words I want to use, because the other way is a lot more complex and tedious, I find. This is the quickest way, in my opinion, to make a quick practice activity focusing on a specific concept. So let's just go ahead and say I want to do the same type of review with short vowel CVC words with all 5 short vowels in them. So I'll just put down CVC short vowel words. Okay, and again, whatever concept you want to practice, SH versus CH, for example, you could put words in fitting that. Short E versus short I. So the sky's the limit. You can pick any concept you want. You don't need to change any of these because they're set to take the maximum number of words possible. You come down to exact words and you just start putting in the words you want for your book. And you put in one at a time in a comma and space. And so I'm going to just put in about 10 words. And so let's see, I think, all right, I didn't officially count that, but just so I don't take a lot of time up, I've just put in a smaller selection, but basically you can use words directly from your lesson plan or words that fit the concept you want to practice. And then you need to search the database for those words, so you hit search. And any words they have in their database will come up here. And this also includes nonsense words. I didn't put any nonsense words in, but they have quite a few nonsense words in their database. If they don't have it, you would just have to maybe pick another nonsense word and try that. But chances are you'll get most of the ones you put in. And then hit save and exit. So you hit search words after you put your words in, and then save and exit. And then that gets put right up. This is the one that I created, right up into my course workbook. And just to show you, since I've only put 10 or 11 words in it, okay, these words contain these letters. So this is what shows up. So if you are a Barden tutor, for example, and you come up, if you're in the early stages, the good thing about this is that you're not going to bring up letters that haven't been introduced yet. But if you want the alphabet in there, then if you put enough words in, chances are you will get most of those letters represented. But keeping in mind that you're creating more of a practice activity type workbook, it may not be quite that crucial to do, but it's, that's how I would suggest doing it the easiest. They do have a filter if you select the other way to create a workbook, but that's a little bit time consuming as well. So unless that would improve, I think it's just easiest to do this. Now this is still a way that the words are built. I tend, when I've made my own workbook, to more go directly to the flashcards to do the blending and not worry about the alphabet. Since I'm more using this for practice, I can do it that way and go through them this way without the alphabet being up top. Okay, but I could use that alphabet for practicing spelling. I could go to the whiteboard, which we didn't talk about, to dictate words for spelling, and the student could also write, or they could type the words on the whiteboard. So that's another thing that's available. And then all the other activities we talked about and demonstrated, they're all right here. So you have them to practice with your student. They're all available because you've made your own workbook. Right, the last thing I want to show you is how you can add a PDF file to a workbook. So let's say I want to add a PDF file to this CBC Short Files workbook. I would click on that little editing thing and select Edit. And then at the top it says Files. And I've previously uploaded a lot of files for use that I will have in the past then connected to different workbooks. if I didn't have any files, I would go down here to the bottom and choose a file from my computer, and then I would upload it. And that's very simple to do. And then once it's uploaded, it's up here. So since we're practicing the short vowels, I'm going to upload this file because it has on the second page all the short vowels on it. And once I hit that plus, it's up here in my workbook. Then I'm going back. And when I open the workbook and go down, okay, PDF Viewer is now activated because I've uploaded a PDF file, and it comes up in my Whizzimo in the PDF activity. And the second page has the vowels and the practice that I would want to do with it, that I'll do with this particular thing. And on PDFs you can draw if you need to. This one doesn't really call for it. You can also type if you have something a PDF that you would want to type on. You can do that right in Whizzimo. So that's your final thing that you can do to enhance a workbook. So once you create a workbook to review a concept, it's saved in your library. You always have it to do with other students. And that's what's great about it. If you're creating workbooks based on your scope and sequence, then you always have those workbooks that you can continue to use in the future when you get to the particular concept that you want to teach your student. So that's hopefully giving you some ways that you can use workbooks in Whizzimo, whether you have a program like Barton that's already preset. It's a great way to add practice and prescriptive work and activities, or using more as your mainstay for creating lesson activities based around your scope and sequence. Either way, it works very well and makes it easy for you to create a lot of things quickly that then you have right at your fingertips.